I know everyone is looking forward to the upcoming 3D Kirby game, Kirby and the Forgotten Land, for the Nintendo Switch, but I decided to look back at an older Kirby game, one I had never played before. So I went and booted up the NES Mini and decided to play through Kirby's Adventure for the original Nintendo. Growing up, I remember Kirby all throughout my childhood, but rarely were they games that I played all the way through. From Kirby and Smash to Kirby's Dream Land, I always liked the character, so when I was looking for a game to play, this was a no-brainer. When I first loaded into the game, I was taught how to draw Kirby, and I thought it was a nice feature. I'm willing to bet that if I saw this as a kid, I would have really enjoyed it. And it was followed by a montage of all the techniques Kirby can learn in the game. It's a nice and quick tutorial type montage to help you get ready for the adventure you're about to go on. The visuals in the game were pretty good considering the game's age, but I don't think they were groundbreaking at the time or anything like that. But the character models for the enemies were really good. Sometimes, with older games, a lot of character models can look bland or too similar to another character in the game, but I think they all look different from one another. The colors in the game really popped. They were a lot more vibrant than I was expecting. Now, I know the NES Mini outputs HDMI, but even taking that into consideration, I think the game looks better than I was expecting going into it. The sounds in the game weren't anything special. Kirby breathing in air and getting hit are sound effects you're gonna hear non-stop. Each power-up has its own sound effect, which is nice, but for the most part the sound design wasn't nearly as good as it is today. The music, on the other hand, is really good. I really liked all the catchy music played throughout the game. There's very little writing in the game. Basically, once you take control of Kirby, it's non-stop gameplay. There's not a lot of writing to go off to get a character's personality or anything like that, but that's okay. It doesn't need it. The story is fairly simple. King Dedede broke the Star Rod and gave the pieces to his friends who are hiding within Dreamland. So, Kirby sets out to retrieve the pieces and fix the Star Rod in order to return Dreamland into the place it once was. All of this is told to the player at the beginning, and that's basically all the info you need to enjoy the game. Gameplay is the classic Kirby gameplay everyone knows and loves. Side-scrolling 2D platforming, and there's a reason why it kept this style for so long. It works. There's a lot of 2D platformers that have come and gone over the years, and Kirby has been a mainstay, and I think that's because of the combat. Kirby isn't the fastest moving character, and the jumps aren't crazy precise in the game, but the sheer amount of abilities Kirby can get really sets it apart from other games of the era. Fire, ice, brick, high jump, they're all useful in their own way, and they give a good amount of variety for ways to kill the enemies, especially the bosses. While some power-ups are more common, like Spark, you might end up using it a lot, so when you come across an enemy that gives you a new ability, it might be worth your while to switch out and grab the new ability. Some of the bosses are much easier depending on the power-up you have, and it helps keep the game from getting stale. I will say, the game was actually more difficult than I was expecting. I thought I would breeze my way through the game, and while I never got stuck anywhere, I did lose more lives than I thought I was going to, which I will say is a good thing. I was worried the game would be too easy and end up being boring, but that wasn't the case at all. The game did have some flaws. Most notably, I encountered a lot of slowdown, which I'm not surprised about because it's an NES game, but I am surprised because I thought the NES Mini would be powerful enough to fix that, but apparently that's not the case. It would either happen if there were too many enemies on screen, or when I was either using the Spark ability or the Freeze ability. They both have animations that must take up too much graphical power than the game can handle. I'm not technically savvy when it comes to that stuff, but I assume that's the issue. Other than the lag, I don't have too much to complain about. Some of the level designs were a little bland, but for the most part, they were pretty good, with good enemy placement. Very rarely the enemy placement felt unfair or cheap. And the bosses all had similar concept on how to defeat them, but their attacks varied enough that they all felt different. All in all, there's a reason why the Kirby franchise has lasted all these years. Even with its simple design, the game is fun, and honestly, that's what matters. The game also didn't drag on. You can beat the game in an afternoon if you want. Roughly 4 hours from beginning to end, and I think that's a great length for this style of game. Especially for an older game, where it might be more difficult to keep a player's attention, especially if the player doesn't play a lot of retro games. If you're looking for a nostalgia kick, or you just want to get into the Kirby mood leading up to Forgotten Land, then I think you should definitely give this a shot. I think it still stands up, and it doesn't show its age nearly as much as some other NES games. There's also a lot of ways to play it: the NES Mini, the original cartridge, the Switch Online service, and even on the Wii U Virtual Console. So if you're looking to try it, I'm sure you can find it any way you prefer. At the end of the day, if you like Kirby but never played Kirby's Adventure, I'd say give it a shot, especially to get yourself ready for the new release. I hope you enjoyed my thoughts on Kirby's Adventure for the NES Mini. If you did, be sure to click the thumbs up, it really helps out a lot, and please share the video with anyone who might enjoy it. If you're new here, please consider subscribing for more video game related content. Thanks for making it to the end of the video. Thanks for watching. I'm super excited for the new 3D Kirby, and eventually, I really hope we get a new 3D Donkey Kong. That would be awesome.